So initially in front-end development, right, you might just need to know one or two, three things then, right? Maybe HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you have like your website hub. And then if you are building a web application or you uh want to use a JavaScript quote unquote library, it was jQuery then. But now we have progressive web applications, single page applications, tools, tech, what I would call them frameworks or tech or tools that are being in the space for like a decade. I think React Angular has uh been in the space for like maybe 12 years. Not sure, but React maybe 10, 10, yeah, 10 to 9 years. And things have rapidly changed as the way things were being done. So the industry is an ever evolving industry. So one of the things that a tech enthusiast, a tech professional would uh, uh, would make sure is arm himself with is to make sure that he's abreast of new technological trends and upskilling to what industry standards, what companies use, what conventional industries adopt, right? Which are some of the things I'll be sharing, right? How to ensure that you have the right technical skills to be hired, right? Um, even in the job market, right? So I would boldly say that maybe in 10 years or 10 years ago, there was not much people in tech. So the few professionals then were very hot cake guys, right? People that they could charge any kind of amount, maybe in freelance scenarios or contract scenarios, right? And if they don't get things done, if you displease them, they'll be like, I'm not doing it again. So, but it has changed in the past that time ago to now. We have a lot of people that are aware of the tech space, the fact that the flexibility of you being able to learn the comfort of your home or self-learn, just having a computer and maybe internet, you can take whatever resources and build those skills, right? So and it's not yeah, beauty of being in tech uh is not just restricted to a particular, maybe some of you might be undergrad, some of you might be grads or whichever, or some of you are yet to enter school. It doesn't matter, right? But tech doesn't is not really uh software engineering is not really you don't really need to have a degree, so to speak. I had a degree in computer science, yeah, but um there is no I've worked with people that had background in other field like geology, geophysics, medical sciences, right? Some people that even went to study medicine after 7 years. So I've had people that are very exceptionally good as a software engineer, even though they are coming from backgrounds that are not tech related, and some of them are doing very well for themselves. Um, so that is to say, it's not you are not disadvantaged, so to speak, if possibly you are studying physiotherapy or you're currently studying cell biology or whatever. It doesn't change the fact that you can't be a tech professional in whatever field you choose, whether it's front end or back end or mobile or cloud or DevOps, whichever track it is, right? So that's the beauty about tech. It's not, uh, you don't have to be, there are exceptions, right? But uh, you don't have to have such background. It's something that you could learn. I was having like a conversation with, I remember when is it ALX started? ALX is like a learning community, just like TechUp. I'm not sure if you're conversant with it, but when I saw the um outline of the 1 year they were doing, I was like, this ELX 1 year program that they are teaching, like the whole 5 years course compressed that I did in computer science, because I studied in Unilag. My distance was 5 years. And I'm like, all these things they are teaching them about the basics of computer science, algorithm, data structures, operating systems, compiler construction, all those kind of things. There are things that we spaced in 4 5 years to do, of which some of them were irrelevant, right? They're not some things that I'm using day to day. But that's how school is. There's a gap between schooling and reality, right? So um, I saw it and I was really impressed because they could compress some of the very congent part of um, computer science education for those that are possibly not coming from tech background, to learn some of the things they need to learn to be able to maybe eventually specialize in whatever tracks. And after a certain period, they begin to take, I think, another 3 months to specialize, whether in front end or back end or whichever track they want to take. So I'm just like saying this to just let you know that okay, um, that you are not disadvantaged, right? In in the fact that maybe you are not coming from you're coming from a non-tech background. I used to say to people that of which I possibly have shared again prior in previous calls, is that the only thing I look out for, or I tell people, that it's like the quality to maybe excel or to do well as a software engineer or as a front end or back end. You don't need to be a nerd. You don't need to be Alex wife kind of person. You don't need to be um um what's the name of this, Tony Stark of Iron Man, to be very, you don't need to be that of a bright mind, so to speak, to excel. What I see people, what I tell people is, so far you have the knack to learn, you have the discipline to learn, and the you can be taught, right? And you can learn with time and improve whatever pace you have, right? Some people learn things pretty quickly. Some, it takes some time. Maybe some things that might take the some people 6 months, some other people it might take them 3 months to be proficient at. It's just time phrase. And that's just personality. It doesn't reduce such a person. So uh I'm just saying this to say, okay, what are the qualities I feel like I actually see as a green light for people that I feel like they can do well is, you are you are always hungry to learn more. You are not afraid to um, try new things, because it's not everybody's that really wants to really learn new things, are geared towards making things getting things done, or they are curious or inquisitive. Not everybody. Those are the qualities I feel like that are very necessary. The rest can come in, maybe knowing how to pay attention to details, having a long-term attention span or working span, right? Being a software engineer, I'm sure a lot of you stay with your computers for like 6 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, depending. Uh so some people can't do it. Some people, like, they can only sit down 1 hour after they're restless, they want to do something else. Right? Such thing that things you can develop in time in the long run, but those are the things I feel like that are innate qualities. I feel like if this person wants to really do well as being a software developer, right, he just needs to have such qualities, and the rest is possibly just secondary, and he can improve as time goes on, right? In terms of skills, right? Knowing how to master skills, knowing how to learn appropriately. So as I'm very much aware, right, I know that you people are taking out some courses that TechUp is kind of offering. I think if I can remember, is this Scream Bio? Yeah, so I don't know if they've added to it. I don't know, but uh, I've seen last year, like the course outline and some of the resources that you guys used to learn, and they are quality resources, and the fact that they also give you room to be able to practice alongside what you're learning. I think I'll just also mention, uh, since I'm saying it now, since you're learning with those resources or with other resources you might possibly find online, this information overload, right? It can be overloaded with too much information if you are learning from multiple sources. So that's why it's good to have a concrete resource that you feel like after this resource, I know that I have a good foundation to be able to build on top of um and excel and gain experience with on, right. So if I'm to um see the right method of learning of which I've you I've uh, I've leveraged on or I've employed, uh that I also know that people has been beneficial to people, not just learn um learn on the surface, right? What I mean by learn on the surface, right? For example, as a front end dev, right? Like I mentioned some tools like initially that are very industry that are much popularly used right now, that are mostly adopted globally, whether you're in Nigeria, you're in Europe, or you're in America, whichever place you are. So tools like React, Next.js, Vue.js, Angular. There's also Svelte, which is very less popular compared to React. Um, so surface learning, I would say, is just for example, you feel like, oh, you know that, oh, React is the popular content framework now. That's you need to know React to be able to get job and all of those things. Like, but React is a tool built with something, right? So it's good to master the foundations before moving to frameworks, right? So the foundation of front end will always be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? And that's what the browser is interpreting as a user interface for the people to operate in. Like, it's also good to know how will I call these basics of web? What is uniform resource locator? When somebody requests for when somebody visit www.amazon, what are the things that take place underneath? What happens? Those are things that basics of web fundamentals, knowing what cookies are, knowing what sessions are, knowing what basics of security, right? Knowing what servers are, knowing what um, CDNs are, content delivery network. So those basics are also very good to know so that you don't just what I would say, because someone have asked me question before, like what's the difference between a developer and an engineer, right? Why I feel like it's just semantics. It's just some people can want to change. Why some can differentiate it. I've seen people differentiate it. While I just some can intend to mean maybe engineer when they say developer. Some can mean engineer when they mean developer. So, but all I can just specifically say what makes you an engineer. For example, those that possibly studied engineering in school. I didn't study engineering, but I'm very sure that in engineering courses, some of the things they did were not surface level things. You needed to know how to draft mathematical conclusions from some some things that are not. I kind of did a course when I was in my 400 level. They call it data communication, and I was doing Laplace. While I'm like, why am I having to know what are the things going on in terms of communication? Why am I having to do things that electronics engineering guy is supposed to be doing? So that's what I mean. So an engineer should know what are the intrinsic things going on in a software, right? You should be able to answer the basic questions. And what are the things that makes a software a software? What are the things that happen when I visit www.jumia.com and the site comes up and it loads, right? What are the things that happen when I go to another page and I'm able to uh I'm able to uh go back effectively, right, without it being reloaded. So that's just like explaining that you need to know, like, don't just stay on the surface level, know the basics well. So the HTML, CSS, which are on JavaScript, like the foundations of front end development, are some things that will still be the foundations, right? Whether they will ship out a new framework that might take the space, or that can be very loud. Right? Initially, I said it was jQuery at the point. Then we had Angular JS, right? Angular 1 and 2. Then we had React, then eventually Vue. There are tons of them that are not popular, but those are the popular ones, right? And I think React stopped the chart. Um, so knowing the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which is like the framework or the language React is built with, right? It's very essential, right? So don't just delve into, I know how to write page React components, I know how to use state component, I know how to use hooks, I know what props are, I know how to uh destructure a website into components and make the pieces together, right? Know the JavaScript, because the reason why I'm saying this is because that there are people that you get to a level, you need to be language agnostic. What do I mean by language agnostic? You should be able to switch, right? If you have a good foundation, right? You should be able to, for example, you're in an organization that be like, okay, we're no longer using Angular, we want to pick up React. You're able to quickly switch because you have like the foundation strong, right? You're able to, oh, we are no longer using React, we're using Vue.js. And there might be a reason. So it's still the same principle, some of the same paradigms that happens once you are using React or using Vue. You just have different way of doing things, right? So having the basics, very solid basics foundation is very good. Like I still go back to the basics to learn some of the things, to strengthen some of the things that possibly I've forgotten, right? So there are platforms like Mozilla Web, W3 schools, those platforms that have like those documentation for those basics, right? Uh, that are still foundation, right? People have been using W3 schools maybe 15, 10 years ago, and people will still use it to, I don't know. So um, it's good to emphasize having that strong foundation. Then eventually, if you master the fundamentals of JavaScript, right, knowing how what data structures are, knowing how to what are classes, methods, right, the the what's encapsulation, what's polymorphism, what's the basics of OOP, right, the pillars of OOP, right, knowing how to build uh knowing how to use the right data structures at different times, right? Knowing how to program with JavaScript is very good, right? Just take a problem, look at a problem, and be like, okay, can you solve this with JavaScript, right? And that alone kind of makes you solid. Because the reason I'm saying this is because you get to a scenario, most of the opportunities I've gotten or interviews I've been at, some of them don't ask what maybe what website. Now these are organizations, these are maybe regular organizations. None of them will ask, come and build this front-end interface live on the call on peer programming. No, what they will just give you is a code challenge and be like, want to even being a senior level, that's what they do. And they'll be like, okay, can you solve this problem? Right. That's why you now have tools like Akara and Glitch Code, all those kind of places. That's also how big tech, which is Fang, Facebook, Meta, Google, and they're still using, which I still have, I mean, I have reservations towards. I mean, it doesn't really like speak. It doesn't really verify skill of the developer and engineer really, but that's the way the industry is. And there's a good side and there's also the bad side. The good side is that you're always wanting to gauge how you are able to solve, come up with solution with that language, as with the exemption of whether you are using React or whatever. They feel like the reason for that, they feel like you can easily pick up any of those tools if you have the basics. Now, even in the industry, people hardly use JavaScript now. They use a superset called TypeScript. TypeScript, most organizations that I know that I've worked for, is TypeScript, right? And it's just like JavaScript, but it's just a superset. It's statically typed compared to dynamically typed JavaScript. And if you don't know JavaScript, I don't think you do well in TypeScript. Well, some people say they know TypeScript, they don't know JavaScript because JavaScript has some weird parts. And most of those people saying that is because possibly they've come from a background of maybe Java or C Sharp or Python and kind of have those background, and switching to TypeScript is like similar, right? But it's still the same, right? I just because TypeScript eventually transpiles to or compiles to JavaScript, right? So knowing this like would give as a foundation help you be able to diversify as a front-end engineer. And then to say this, right, I was talking about the right way of learning, which you already started and started learning with online sources here, right? So I was mentioning information overload. As a beginner, it's usually very difficult to navigate what you should follow. Some friends will say, this is what you should take. If you are on Twitter, you are following sources, and okay, this is what me I'm doing, this is what it's going to be focused, right? Don't overload yourself. I remember when I was taking when I wanted to start learning Web3. Web3 is decentralized web. So I had a lot of information overload, even despite the fact that I had experience reading Web2 applications, and it was very difficult for me to navigate which sources. I needed to just shut down, leave Twitter, and focus on one thing, right? So when you are learning, right, it's good to be able to focus on the resource that you're using to learn. If you have the multitasking ability to get too much, I mean, absorb information from different sources, well, that's good. But I just feel like um, if you can stick with one at a time, right? Mm, I know some people's goal is eventually to become a full stack engineer, but some don't want to stay as a front end. They want to migrate into mobile, which is fine. But before migrating to another technology or another domain or picking up another thing, it's good to like have like a good foundation, a solid owning of your skills in that domain, so that you are comfortable, you confident that okay, I know this thing to an extent, right? I can build websites, I can build web applications, single page applications with React, with Vue. I can interpret any design I'm given to into beautiful user interfaces, right? Um, so that's to say, learn one at a time, right? It's good to not overload yourself. In this today's world, there's a lot of things going on. There are people, the Web3 noise or the wave was very high 2022, 2021. It's coming back again. It dropped when there was a lot of was it setbacks in the crypto space, and some a lot of Web3 companies folded up. But it's picking up again because the Bitcoin cryptocurrency is also up, coming up again. So some that are evangelists or what I put, they are influencers, put it like that, of a particular domain. That doesn't mean that okay, should I just drop this one, right? Because I remember in the last call, someone was like, okay. I have interest in AI engineering because obviously AI is gaining the traction now, the voice. And I'm like, it's not bad, but what you started, do you want to dump it and start a new track again? And because really, if you are, I've kind of, I used to review people's resumes and kind of give reviews on how recruiters see things, right? So if, for example, you started out as a front end developer, maybe an internship somewhere, and you be like, okay, I'm tired of front end, I want to go into cloud. You're like, okay, I want to start learning cloud. You're looking for a cloud dev jobs. Now, having those mixed experiences will kind of affect better opportunities you might have because you want to put it out on your resume and be like, okay, there's no consistency in progression of, because some recruiters have different mindset on how they see a candidate. Right, that's a topic for another day because some prefer specialists compared to a generalist. I'm not against people being a generalist. Would I say I'm a generalist? Somewhat, to an extent, but some view candidate, they prefer a candidate. So, for example, a role, some companies are like, they like somebody to be focused on a particular domain. Oh, we have front end team, we have a back end team, we have a DevOps team, we have a QA team, we have product team. So, if you are coming in and you are looking for such opportunities and you have you are flaunting full stack, such company might reject you. Why? Because you feel like, okay, I'm of advantage. Yes. Why? I have to put disclaimer in this. Some would like that because you'd be like, okay, this person knows more and this person has knowledge of more. While some doesn't. They just want somebody that career progression has reflected progressive growth as a front end engineer, right? I've worked in a team that we are all full stack, but you have to stay in particular, you have to specify which one you are strong in, right? You can say that's when you see some terms like full stack, front end heavy, full stack, back end heavy, right? So for in a maybe in a sprint, in a week, or in when they are planning to release a product, one person doesn't have to take both front end and back end tasks. You can take a back end task, complete it, move to the front end, or there's a front end person doing this, and the back end will also do that. So I've worked in such setting, and I've worked in a setting where some people are domain specific. They want somebody that's so avoid uh domain hopping, right? As a starter, you can do that when you are more experienced and you feel like I've known this to an extent. I always want to add to my pouch of Q sets. That's not bad. I've seen people that are front end web and mobile front end engineers also, and they do well. Like for example, you can know React. Taking out React Native is could be a walk in the park because 70% of the knowledge you have in React, you can also like apply it to knowing how to build mobile applications React Native. So avoid, try to know how to filter people's know what you want, like set a target for yourself, filter people's information in terms of, oh, can you try, is machine learning that is really now data science? You have to, there was a time that was really the falls, right? Data science, that was like 2020, 2019 thereabout. And I was like, oh, funny enough, for me, I had opportunity to learn data science in school, right? Machine learning and data science. So it's part of the course outline, but some people who have left web, I'm like, okay, I want to become now. I would not really, I don't give an ironclad rules to starting out. I'm just giving advice, right? So that you don't get things muddled up in trying. Why I don't give ironclad, I feel like some people need some time to be able to settle in, to know where they feel like they can do well in, right? So if, for example, you tried out front end for like 6 months and you're like, I don't feel front end is for me, right? And I'm like, I maybe want to explore being a product designer, or you are front end, I'd be like, okay, I'm tired of being, I'm not really feeling this front end. I think I want to go into back end development. Now, don't take that long. before you decide which one you want to stay in, right? It's fine that you are not, they are very maybe you are not settled in a particular aspect, and you're like, okay, I still want to test the waters in this, test the water. I know of some few people that have tested the water and tested the waters of front end, tested the water of back end. Eventually, the person was like, it's QA I like to do. The person is doing it as a QA engineer. And I won't say that, okay, that then that might not be the situation with some people, right? I won't be surprised if some people here eventually pivot into being a cloud DevOps. They're like, oh, wow, so cloud is this interesting. They're like, oh, I'm no longer doing front. Yeah, so that's about that. So try to be advised, right? Try to be focused on what you're learning one at a time. As a starter, um, um, be focused on have a target to why you're learning, right? The reason why I say this is because if you have a target to why you're learning this thing, you can be able to tailor your learning towards it. If I'm just learning, so I can, for example, I can be when I wanted to learn Web3, it was not really because I wanted to pivot into Web3. I was just curious to know what smart contracts, blockchain solidity, what are all those terms? What are all those things? Web3, how to build decentralized applications, what are the things involved? I just wanted to learn that for myself, right? Just to know, just to be aware of what this thing is, right? But it's good to learn those things for just you want to know them. But if you're starting out, learn things in pursuit in view of, okay, I'm learning this front end development. I'm giving myself 6 months, giving myself another 6 months to be able to build portfolio, build relevant exposure in this industry or connect. And in the space of 1 year, I want to land an internship in a company. Now, when you are learning, you know that that's your goal, right? While I know some people want to learn because maybe they want to start up their own. I won't advise that if you're starting out, right? Skills is not enough. Tech skills is not enough to just start a company. There's a lot involved, right? So it's good to like when you have. I know some people would flaunt maybe Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of college to build a startup. This one dropping out. They are very. Yeah, you have to know this kind of situation you're in or the environment. Study the environment before you can make such decisions. There were some people like that was during COVID. I read of a startup in Nigeria. Can't remember the name, but those guys obviously during COVID nobody was in school, right? School was shut. Those guys were in their penultimate year, fourth year, and they have like one more year left to be able to complete their degree, right? And they were like group of tech guys, maybe some in computer science, some in engineering. They had tech skills. They knew how to build applications well. They knew the inside out, and they were together and they built something innovative and kudos, right? I was also part of a very very talented set of people in my class that my classmates that are very we're building innovative things like, but they were not like they built a company and they were able to navigate their way into raising pre-seed. Those are investment terms, right? Raising money to be able to run the company. And they left school, they dropped out. I'm like, why would you leave a journey of I don't feel like it's a smart decision to me because I feel like why would you leave your 4 years journey of you started and you're like, okay, because I want to start, I know how to start making money. Like at least maybe just 1 year, 1 more year, you complete it. So sometimes it's good to like gauge some of this decision. Is it the right decision for me? Right? Like for example, you want to start out maybe as a freelancer, right? Or as a freelancer, this thing, you need to understand, do I have what it takes to be a qualitative freelancer as a front-end developer, right? You need to be able to gauge yourself that okay, do I have the capacity really, or I still need to stay and learn some ethics, right? Because there are aside the skills, there are some other ethics that you will learn. You don't have to learn it the hard way if you are being thoroughly, I mean, put through. You have seniors that you can converse with and be like, okay, should I do this or do that? Right? Some people that have gone ahead of you, right? And some people be like, okay, after a year of learning, I want to be able to be get an internship. Now there can be setbacks. Nobody says really there can be setbacks. Really, it's okay. I'm unable to get. I might discuss about that maybe now, later in the call, or maybe not now. It might be setbacks, but the setback doesn't mean that it will not happen. It might not happen at that time or that period you're wanting it to happen, but consistency is the key, right? So there are other ways. When I mean setbacks, maybe you're you are looking at, okay, after a year of learning on putting myself uh uh owning my skills industry standard, I want to be able to land an internship. And you've applied, you're not able to secure one. Um there are other there are other there are other alternative things you can consider that you might not be trying out, aside the fact that maybe you are waiting to see a job shared in on LinkedIn or whatever sites you crawl, and you're like, okay, internship, you jump into it. The truth of the matter is, if I let me just mention this, the the way the trend, the industry stand, the way the things have been in industry has changed. So maybe 5 years ago, an intern should might 5 to 7 years ago, an intern might be, I don't know anything, come and learn. Some might not even, some might be paid, some might not be paid, mostly, right? But now things have changed. An intern, they already require you to like have 1 or 2 years experience in some things. So it's like the stakes are high, right? In employment these days. And I've seen it progress like uh strangely, right? So sometimes even having to see, you have to understand, okay, this is the situation of things in the markets, in the tech market. Interns, they are requiring for this uh set of skills, set of experience level, and uh what are the things I'm doing now that can help me to be able to get to that being qualified. Now that brings me, let me now go back to say, okay, if eventually setbacks happen, you're not able to secure a role in 1 year after learning or after building expertise, what are the alternative ways you are also considering, right? In terms of, aside maybe waiting for that job post, right? And you click apply. The truth of the matter is, I've seen maybe all these tech companies in Nigeria, which many of you are, maybe it's like a dream company to you. Like Money Point, Flutterwave, Mono, mention them, there are plenty, right? Cowrywise, PVS. So some of them, fortunately, some of them maybe hire some set of graduate engineers or interns, and I don't know if it's yearly. There is a particular threshold they can take. And I've seen a scenario where maybe I think it was Mono. They were hiring for intern in different tracks, front end, back end, all that place, and they had hundreds of applications in less than 30 minutes, right? They needed to, they see hundreds of thousands. They needed to, the site, the job portal site crashed. They needed to close it, right? Meanwhile, maybe they were just, I think they were hiring just one or two. So the space is competitive, no doubt about that. It's good to be aware, right? So that now brings me to this topic about um um preparing to be employable. If you want to start, as you want to work for an organization, like I said, some people want to be freelancers of their own. While those have, everything has pros and cons, right? So the con of being a freelancer is when you finish a gig, you have to sort out and possibly wait for another contract to you to be able to keep aloof, right? While if you're in a full time, you have benefit of the consistent salary, incentive, maybe health insurance, HMO, or maybe pay time off when you want to take a leave, right? So everything has the pros and cons. The pros of being a freelancer is you're not restricted to finishing things according to, possibly according to deadline. You're not bound to have to go to office. You are doing things at your own pace. So I don't think anything that you feel like it works for you, right? I'm not trying to pitch being a freelancer is better than no. Anything that feel like you work for you, right? Just adopt and feel like okay, follow through it, right? So I was saying that if setbacks happen where you are not able to get opportunities, what are the things you are setting, what are the things you are doing now in view to ensure that you are employable, or you are you can be able to stand out, right? So let me just mention a few, right? Which some of you already know, like having a portfolio, right? uh that cannot be overemphasized, right? It's even front-end engineers, it's even you guys are even at more, you are more how do I put it now, you are you are more in terms of what do I put it? There are more people jumping into front end than maybe other tracks in engineering. I think that's the truth. I'm not saying front end is easy, but it has. If you ask me, it's like, I know a lot of back end guys are, they were like, oh, they are the guys doing the real thing, and the front end they're just doing user interface, very simple. No, front end has its own complexities. Back end has, I think they are even, left to me, because having been on both sides over the years, I can say they are equally weighted, right? And especially once you are beginning to develop some advanced applications, right? And a front end, like a back end engineer, for example, now might just have to focus on server side logic that is building ensuring security and cloud, right? And databases. And a front end developer has to be able to interface with a back end engineer because you're consuming APIs, right? I don't know if you are conversant with that yet. Consuming APIs, consuming sending data to the backend also. So and it's also interfacing with a designer. So that's even more work because you are interpreting. If a designer, being an engineering lead, I have had to settle disputes between a designer and a front end developer. I mean, a front end developer, a designer saying, okay, this is not what I designed. This front end developer is not doing what I did. Pixel perfect, please, I need to raise a ticket to redo this thing. Or this thing has to be, this is not the color I used, this is not the typography I used. So ordinary maybe spacing or lettering, or maybe the color scheme or the color code is not accurate, or they use gradients in a particular place, and this person is not using gradients, it's just filling. So those things, if a developer has to have like mental, how would I put it, mental maturity to interface both with the front, because you have to please both the brand, the business, the product owner, which can be the CEO, whoever. Uh, then the designers, you have to make sure that this is what the design is, what I'm actually interpreting. And the backend engineers also, you need to ensure that what data you're sending or what data you're retrieving is also in consonance with what is ensured. So it's even more work really, but I just like equally weight them. So if you're in view of and you want to ensure that okay, after a year you want to be, what are the things you're doing in place that you are making you be able to be employable or to be able to get a job in the tech market now, right? So you have to ensure that you're not just, I was sharing some. I was doing a video recording for someone who was not tech um yesterday. And I was like, nowadays, right, they are influencers. There's branding. Let us call it the general name. The general term is like branding. So there are a lot of people that are they can do branding, like they go out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm sure you're aware of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like the social space, right? For professionals. So they know how to put themselves out there, right? I'm not that kind of a person. I'm introverted, so I don't, I'm not the social media. Some people can do it. And because of that visibility, some people get traction. They get they get the responses. They get the, if they are possibly, it helps because of the connections you might build, people that are interacting with, and people that you might not be know that are looking. Because truthfully, there are people that are looking at, maybe if you are sharing your works on LinkedIn, there are people that are looking you might not be aware of. And somebody might just eat you up one day and be like, okay, I like your works, some of the things you've done, and we would like to. It has happened countless. I know people that it has happened to, right? And by that, they were able to, so some of them secured their first job, some of them secured another role, even being a beginner. Some I know some that secured their first job via it. I know some that have switched to another role, being experienced. So if you can do that, right? If you feel like you can do that, you're not shy, you're not introverted enough to, I mean, introverted that to just keep to yourself. You want to be able to have build a network or a personal brand, right? It can help, right? It can help to an extent. And so let me go back to saying portfolio, right? So portfolio is like a, it's like an evidence of what you're capable of doing, right? All of us, we are here that we for example, you want to hire a tailor to do a job for you, and maybe you have a particular dress, a style. You want to know, maybe you are in a new space, you want to be able to ensure that what this work I'm giving this person can do it. Okay, what have you done that you will be able to prove that you can help me do this, right? So that's what like portfolio is like, kind of like a reflection of what you are able to do. So you can't just put on your resume, I know front end development, I know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Vue, uh, Tailwind CSS, and know how to use Babel Webpack and all those things. So it's not enough, right? They won't go by what you say, and the reason why, that is the reason why tech is not isolated to, being a tech professional is not isolated to degree, right? You don't need to have a degree. So they are only just going. I've lost roles, CS grad that were not tech savvy, because yes, some people study computer science don't know how to code. Yes, it's true. That were not tech savvy. Some of them even finishing in first class, if they are not, if they don't have the proof of the skills, or they don't have the skills, that they won't be employable. No recruiter will say that, okay, this person is just, you have to be able to show it, right? So yeah, what you're doing now, put it in mind that, okay, what are the things I'm putting in place in view that I can be able to build a resume, I mean a portfolio in place, right? And when I mean portfolio now, it's not about doing some of the things you do on tutorials are basic things, right? Maybe to-do lists, note taking application, URL shortener link, uh, uh, e-commerce is quite advanced, especially if it has all the features of an e-commerce checkout, payment integration, those kind of a thing. But try and do something that is that if you are skilled enough to do something that has not, that you feel like has not been done, it's like is a good thing, or you clone a work that you feel like is Netflix clone, right? You want to build. I know there are a lot, tons of them on GitHub or on YouTube. You can follow through the tutorials and build alongside to like, okay, what are the things they need to do to like build a feed, like a social media feed? What are the things I need to, so those exposures, I like such tutorials because it kind of it kind of have a way to show you how things are being done in an organizational manner, right? So You have to put that in place. So as I'm doing this thing in track, I'm also like having my profile set up in the respect. Like for designers, it's not what they need to have a portfolio. If you are not a designer, a product designer, you don't have a portfolio, just forget it. So they have their places where they host their portfolios and show their work. These Diane's, these Dribble, those places. For developers, right? Is for us is GitHub, right? So if there's anybody here that doesn't have a GitHub yet, you just have to have a GitHub. I've had opportunities. Somebody DM me because of something I did on GitHub that was public, right? Now I don't really have the luxury of time to do personal project public again. Most of the things are private. But some of the things I've done prior, just plain personal project, things I feel like just doesn't need to get my hands dirty on. There's some people that have reached out to me on LinkedIn, like, okay, they would like to work with me on this, they will have to have a call with me on this. Uh so GitHub is like the personal, is like a platform that you should, some people pride in GitHub commits, right? They have like 1,000 or something, 2,000 or something. So you see like GitHub graph. Is there's nothing wrong really, because I would like to use some recruiters. The reason why some job sites you might see put your GitHub, what's your GitHub link? You want to be able to verify that yes, this person is this thing. You can't just claim to put on your resume, I know what front end this is. They need to be able to see evidence, right? So having that, put, if you don't have that, start now, right? Create something, like put out some of your works on GitHub. Have a README on your GitHub, right? So that somebody is like coming in to kind of, okay, I want to clone your project to see what you're doing. I'm able to know what this project is about. If you are, there are also like free hosting site like Vessel for front end. There's a Render. I think Render also can do front end free. I don't know if Netlify now, but I don't know if they're still free, but there's also there are tools you can host some of the sites you're doing, just like you already did. I think GitHub web pages you can do that. So try and leverage on those free tools, like hyperlink some of the things on that on the GitHub repo, and you don't know, you can never tell who is watching really. I won't lie to you. So those are things that you need to start doing, that to ensure that you are being employable as a front-end developer if you choose to work in an organization, right? Um, what are some of the things I also outlined? Um, so okay, I've mentioned showcasing skills. Okay, also things that I feel like um some people don't take in cognizance of when they are starting. I feel like you build such, but just to brief you, you build such as you grow, right? As code qualities, right? How you don't just be a front-end developer that just wants to translate designs to code, right? Uh, once you are growing up in the career ladder, or some of the things that you have worked, I've worked on projects where the code is just meant for the developer. He just wrote it for himself. Nobody else can work on that project because it was really messy, right? And uh code quality, coding standard, adhering to coding uh good quality code standards is very, is something that if you pick up now, it's not bad, right? It's not a bad thing. You don't have to get a job and eventually having people review your code and rejecting your PRs and be like, okay, can you do this like this? Why is this being repeated? Why are you using this variable name? Why not using something more current? So things that you can also start learning to do, right? If it's not too early, right? Is making sure that you are able to write quality code. What are the things? What are the parameters of quality code? It varies at levels which you grow into, because I don't want to talk about uh maybe testing. Yeah, testing is a thing once you get into some organizations. For example, if you're working in places like industry and uh places where there are enterprise applications, right? Uh, that are being used by millions of people. So yeah, in place like MoneyPoint or Flutterwave or Paystack or whatever. I'm very certain, I've not worked in those places, but I'm very certain that those industry standard in terms of testing what they're doing, because they have a lot of people collaborating with them. Right? When I mean testing, unit testing. No, it's both back end related, but it's also the front end aspect of functionality test. Right? You do it Jest, you do it Enzyme, those things, right? If you want, you can't. It's not bad learning it now, right? As you're learning how to build features, how to maybe, for example, you know how to build a portal, a login, and you have endpoints you are consuming to build a login to a dashboard, right? Write a simple unit test to ensure that the email is being passed as email address. The password has a particular password strength and is ascertain to those requirements. Those are simple ways you can, because I've been to interviews now as a senior uh for international roles where I didn't know much. I knew theory of testing. I did not use testing day to day prior organizations that I've worked for, except we had that time. And these people were really, really bent on testing. And they were like, as we are implementing features, we are also writing tests. So they adopt, this is what we call test driven development. They adopt testing as as a very key part of their operations. So an engineer must know how to write tests. So at that level, right, because they expect, so you understand. But even if as a starter, right, yeah, I'm not saying is not too early, like I said, to start learning how to write tests for simple things like, right. There are YouTube tutorials. If your courses that you are taking doesn't cover testing, there are places where you can sort on Udemy. Like if you see something that covers all the things you need, just stick with it and learn it and use them. Use what you've learned, right? Um, so I was also mentioning some adherence to coding styles, like ensuring that um you know what it is to have a good quality code when you are building. Why? Because when you are working in an organization, you're not the only one working on that project. You might eventually leave, right? Somebody else will pick it up. More than half of the projects in the world here are not being maintained by the author or are not being upgraded by the author. Person that created React, Jody Walkie, was a former staff of Facebook, which is Meta now. I don't think he has contributed to what React is in version 19 right now, right? I don't think he has contributed. Just like when he started, when him and some few of his friends started React in Facebook, then I don't think what much improvement that has come to React as a as ecosystem, as a tool, has been coming from different developers working in, because it's open source. And why am I saying this? Because once you start working in an organization, right, these are things that freelancers don't really care about, because you just want to deliver your work to your client and move on with your life. But people that are targeting the corporate 9 to 5 or whoever, uh, these are things that you would eventually have to take in cognizance of, because you are not the only developer on the team. Once you leave the project, somebody else will pick up the project and needs to like contribute to expand the features or whatever. So you're ensuring that your code is readable, right? Yeah, it's you're writing commands to computer to interpret, but there's a way you can ensure it adheres to coding styles, which I feel like this talk is not for it. Now I can just mention a few of them, right? It's what they call DRY. Don't repeat yourself. If something um, can be extracted and reused, meaning that if something is being repeated over time, it's like reason why, for example, you use variables, right? Or you use functions. You draft things out of functions is because you feel like you want to call this function when necessary, right? It's the same way too that there are some things that you feel like these are things like it's just like React kind of structure, like the reusable components, things that you feel like can be reused, abstract them into a isolated and reuse them, right? So avoid repetition, right? Those are code quality standard because eventually what you don't know is some of the things aside the fact the coding standards are coding style principles and not just the boss for you to be like I know some people that like there are 23 there are 23 design patterns. I'm not sure you guys have heard this, but it's something called design patterns. So as another coding style principle, but there are 23 of them. I don't think anybody have you can utilize the old 23 in in a project, right? The mostly used ones are just within five, right? That people use like the singleton pattern, the uh other creation patterns, right? So those are ones that people often use, but this most design patterns are mostly back end related things, not much for front end. So the reason why is not because of trying to overload a developer, but because not following coding styles in cost cost either is cost runtime or execution time or it cost resources. Now those resources now these things you might not know because if you don't know the basics of how web works, you will not know what cost am I saving in just as a front end developer. Yeah, you have to cost like computational cost, right? I tell my guys that okay, how best can we execute maybe reducing API calls in front end so that we don't have to because that API calls you're making Zida is reducing the load time for the user, but it's also costing the server that you're making requests to. So there's cost in in resources in money. There's also cost in time, and there's cost in computational resources, right? Because a server uses a CPU, right, processing units. So those are things that you might not know underlying that are the things that make an engineer solid, right? Because you need to ensure that what you are building is scalable. It reduces cost as much as possible, right? So adhering to ensuring that code quality standards are being adhered to at this stage is not bad to start. Just like, for example, I don't know, some people still use vanilla CSS, which is the normal CSS you guys use. I'm not against it, but there are better front-end UI frameworks that does the heavy lifting instead of wasting your time on writing CSS, right? The Tailwind CSS, if you're picking React, for example, there's Shartian, which is like more popular now. There's React Bootstrap, there's this thing. So somebody reacted as so no, it's good if you're learning CSS now. It's just like I said, the foundation is good to know at least know how. If you don't know how CSS, normal CSS is, vanilla CSS will definitely be weird to you. Imagine maybe you didn't learn CSS as well. Knowing how to use Tailwind, you won't know how to use Tailwind CSS. So it's not bad if you are still using CSS, but leave that because you need to be able to research and know what these companies use and uh, adopt in terms of industry standard and styles, right? So that's to say it's not too early to start ensuring that you have quality in terms of your code base, right? So is as an engineer, it's not easy because you are both making sure that you are interpreting a design into code in pixel perfect, pleasing the designer. You're not just pleasing the designer because the designer actually wants what he designed to be interpreted exactly, and uh, the product owner also possibly has approved of it, and okay, this is what we would like to have before you having to develop, right? Then eventually, once you're also developing, you are catering to ensure that it's well optimizable. It's user is developer friendly. Let me put it like the developer, now other people can contribute and collaborate on that project without having issues, right? So that also gives me like a cue to talk about maybe collaboration tools, right? Like I said, some of the things you would pick up as an habit is in maybe as you grow in different organizations that you grow. I mean, you find yourself in if you want to work in the corporate space, right? And some of the habits, like communication, right? Knowing how to communicate with effectively with people. Don't just be a developer. That these are soft skills, right? These are the soft skills that a developer should have, whether you are front end or back end. You know how to communicate effectively, right? Not just okay, I just did something, I close my laptop, go and sleep. Uh, if for example, I've seen issues where a front end engineer is not consuming the data shape of an API response that has been changed. Front end the front end developer is not making because the back end didn't inform the front end, and the front end was like, okay, because you didn't inform me, we push this thing to prod, and you're like, so communication is something that is very key that you need to develop uh, alongside knowing how to communicate with people. So that entails you also knowing what a backend engineer, not what they know, but be able to conceptualize what they are saying. So if a backend engineer is saying that, okay, I'm going to be returning, I'm going to be using WebSockets for this instead of using HTTPS. And you're like, okay, what's WebSockets? Why am I using WebSockets? Be able to, in fact, if you don't know, at least you Google it, right? So it is something that you need to be consistent with terms, right? Not so that once you are communicating with people, you understand what they are saying, right? So you won't be in the you won't be in the dust. So you are well. So when a designer they have their own terminologies and lingua too. For example, the designer designs something and there is a modal displayed on top, like an overlay, right? And they're like, okay, what's an overlay? What's an overlay, right? Obviously, there's things that you will learn on the job, right? Which is fine, but it's good to just not be locked in. I only write React, translate the design code, and go and sleep. No, it's not enough, right? So is communication is one key thing that you also need to like um start off start off as start now if you if you want to excel as a front end engineer and you want to do well, right? What are the other things I would like to share? Knowing the industry's trends. I've also mentioned that. So, for example, I've been mentioning a lot of React. It's obvious that React is like the popular and the most used in the front end space, right? I know that some say okay, they don't like React, they prefer to use Vue. I'm not technological. I'm language agnostic, so anything that you feel like works for you, what you prefer, it's good. That's good for you, right? I don't like comparing tools, so it's good to know what are the like industry trends. Don't just start out and be like, I want to pick up Angular. What are your reasons? How well are you able to? You have to check the market trends. How well am I able to get a job if I be a proficient Angular JS front end developer? Because how many jobs are there for a front end Angular JS developer? Because the truth is, there are jobs that are there, but what's like the ratio in terms of how much, right? I would say for confidently, I think React is more popular, right? In terms of the opportunities and all. So don't just because I've seen a lot of some folks I'll be like, okay, they want to pick up a very low key back back end to maybe like Ashkel or Phoenix what's the name of this language that Phoenix was built with so some Ruby, okay, Ruby on Rails, some be like, I'm not against it, but the question you need to just ask yourself is, what are the jobs? That's for backend. Those are the jobs that are available as a beginner, as a junior, or how many opportunities are there if you want to really consider this tool and you want to be proficient at this tool. So don't just pick a language because you feel like it's just unique. Or I just like .NET because don't get me wrong, people use it, right? And some languages you see that the opportunities that are there, like this .NET I just mentioned, .NET, Spring Boot, Java, most times are usually seniors, right? So and some industries, I don't want to even go to that topic. Some industries, there are reasons why they use those languages, right? They have their pros and cons. For me to say, okay, for a backend engineer, one of the most popular ones that people are more likely to see opportunities that have more opportunities, I would say Node, Node.js, Express, rather than Node Express, uh, and I'll possibly say maybe Python, Flask or Django. But I know that I think Node is more popularly available. Like more, you can see much of Node.js, Node.js front end and back end opportunities, right? And if you are somebody that just want to stick with JavaScript ecosystem, you don't want to learn another language, and you want to be a full stack, you can just stay within main stack or stay within the Node, React, or Vue Node, does the JavaScript this thing and be a full stack. And it's just one language, right? Which is maybe JavaScript or TypeScript as a superset. So I think we're running out of time. I need to still review some people's work. I'd love to have say some other things, but I'll just stop here for now and maybe take questions and then we can call it a day. Joy? Okay, you are sorry, Saminu. Sorry, I had
Yeah, you
let me
called me.
say as well.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Uh, Thank you for this wonderful session I've been following, and then I must say that you really take us in this particular journey to in this front end to development. But my question goes like this, sir. Yes, yesterday I was navigating through all the especially Dangote group. I was trying to see whether uh, we have a chance, us that are for software development, particularly front end, the full stack also. Probably I was navigating, if in case I will see if we have a chance to be employed by them. But then I was a bit disappointed by seeing the advert there, because mostly I've been seeing data science, data science. So my question is there a fate, like, is there a hope for us at the end of the tunnel, all that are coming up, all that are beginning to explore the tech world just of recent? Is there a hope for us?
Okay. Wait, you mentioned a company. Did you say Dangote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dangote refinery or
Group,
what?
group of companies, sir. Yes,
Group
sir.
company. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, let
Yes, sir.
me I think the latter part of the question is there um is there hope for people starting out now? Right. Yeah, I would.
Yes.
There obviously there's hope for people starting out. I was giving an illustration to someone yesterday, and they said that if new doctors are challenged by experienced other doctors, does that mean that the new doctors should they now quit and be like, well, there are professionals and they have a long way to go. I'm no longer doing because those people that are experienced this thing is a circle. They would stop working at the point or they will move to other things. And the the circle begin the people that are starting out will take over what they've taken over. That is to say, what am I saying is it's challenging to start. Right? And I cannot dispute the fact that there are challenges when you start out in a new space, especially a space that a lot of young people are trooping into, right? And uh, it's gaining a lot of attention. Like if I was to like, for example, if I was to get back in history, where I was very young, my maybe 9, um, the job that was the in job in Nigeria, maybe being right. So if you get a job as in a bank, you've made it, right? That was then. Like that was how the world is. It's things have changed. At a point, um, at a point, it was working in petroleum company. That is like uh, petroleum company is still very lucrative, but it's not like tech, which has really gained popularity over the years now. So, uh, uh, does it mean that there cannot be another trend? I kind of feel like even the trend that is currently like softly looping in his content creation. That's why you see a lot of tech content creators. Some of them might not even be like the best engineers out there or the best developers out there, but they just crafted a niche for themselves in that space. So it's good to know what you if you really want to go hard in I want to pursue a career in tech, right? And you know that you have, like I mentioned in the beginning, you know now what this is what you want, right? You're dogged about it. Would there be setbacks? Yes. Would there be rejections? Plenty. That's the truth. I have to be honest with you. But many people that are doing well right now, people that I have also faced rejection, plenty of them, right? It's an hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth, right? But if you feel like I don't want you to treat tech this I don't know if you sound of it. I don't want you to treat tech as quick to blow, right? Is not really that true, right? It's not really that true in the sense that I I put this blame on all these all these platforms that be like, okay, come and learn this thing can start maybe YouTube ads. You be earning 6 figures it's not true. That's a lie, right? Even if you are abroad, if you are in the US, right? It's not really that true, except the fact that maybe you gotten into maybe Stripe or Google or Facebook Meta as a graduate engineer right from college, and you're earning 100K, right? That's 100,000 US dollars per year. So the truth about is like building reputation. A career is gradual. Is not is not a fast thing to gain. Yeah, it's lucrative. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't think any career might be wrong that um somebody does except you're high up there, can be paying you half a million a year, I mean, I have half a million per month. So like being a senior engineer while I was still in Nigeria, I think you could earn the average was 500. So like it depends on the company. Can be earning 700, it can be earning 800. Money points engineers earn 800, 1 million, 1.2 thereabout. So uh it's gradual. There are people that started out with no pay as an intern because they knew what they were going for. Like their target is like, okay, I want to kind of build, let experience the hunger for building reputation, which is portfolio. Let it be above the money is the truth. So because if you are really about the bag, the growth you misplace the growth. What comes with the growth comes with the bag, right? If you grow, like, the bag will come, right? If you grow progressively, right, the bag will come definitely, right? When you are even a senior, you won't even be bothered calling yourself senior. Oh, yeah, not because, but you know you want to end, right? So it's not a smooth track, but it's rewarding. And like I was sharing initially, things have changed the way it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, maybe there were very, very few people that were tech professionals. And those guys were, I was not even there because me, I just started my degree um, in computer science. And I was still an undergrad in computer science. So people that could flaunt and be like, okay, if you don't pay me this amount, I'm not doing it. But now there are a lot of people dropping it into it. And it's competitive in this space. So you need to approach it in a competitive manner. And you feel like, oh man, I'm not cut out for this. So I need I need something more less competitive. For example, I know a friend that wanted to start out in tech, finished from survey geoinformatics in UAG. And it was like, what are the options I want to consider? I was like, a lot of people are doing front end, a lot of people are doing back end, a lot of people are doing. He said, I want to do cyber security. I want to learn how to hack. That was what he said. I was not like, okay, that's cyber security actually. So it's not about you want to learn how to hack, right? And I was like, this field you're exploring, very lesser few people are into it. And I won't lie to you, if you stay put and really grow into it, you'll do well for yourself. This person is doing well for himself. He's been on it for like 4 years now. And he has certifications, he does consultations for other companies, which I'm very proud of, right? So I won't say that, like I've said this in my previous sessions, like, um, uh, I won't say that during this program, at the end of this program, you're going to be guaranteed a job, right? I don't, except maybe, I don't know, maybe Tech Up offers a role, like other, maybe this thing, but uh, just, um, just have a long-term view in mind. If you're like, okay, I really want to build experience of my profession in this career path, right? You want to give all it takes to be able to grow in that path. And if you feel like, this is not my own thing, I think I need to reconsider. It's not bad. It's life, right? I won't say you can't excel in other things. It's just it's a perception about mind, really. Like if you feel like you want to do other things that you feel like you can do well rather than being an outside tech. I know that this is not the conversation, but that's what I'm just saying. Right? If you feel like, oh, this is not my thing, because I know some people that um wanted to start out a tech career and they were burnt out or discouraged in the long run. And I was like, okay, they feel like, man, I think I want to consider going back to my business or doing this and this. And I'm like, okay, why not? If you feel like you want to go back into doing it and uh you feel like this is what you have grace to do, why not? You can just do it, right? But it doesn't mean that you cannot still excel in in the tech space, right? There's plenty room for people. It's just knowing how to navigate it, how to be able to stand out, how to be able to approach the market competitively. Because If I don't say this, right, I will just be dishonest to say, okay, it's easy. That okay, there's plenty of jobs waiting for you. Yes, there is, but there are a lot of people also trooping it. So what are you doing differently that can make you be able to? I myself, I'm not a competitive person. I don't like competition. I like to stay in my own lane. But because of I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I can do much more than this, right? So I needed to approach maybe job hunting, applying to jobs, acing interviews in a competitive manner, right? Because I know that, and when you're not even senior, the paradox is it might even become more tense because really you are for maybe the process, the expectations are high. Aside the fact expectations are high, the recruitment, the kind of strenuous recruitment process they put a senior in is not as compared, right? So yeah, one has to be mentally prepared to that stage. So you build experience to that stage, or you build capacity to that stage, right? So there's plenty of room. Saying that okay, is there no room? Maybe it's like saying that people that are upcoming lawyers now, because of the lawyers that the new lawyers are in, on the field, professional lawyers of Nigerian law, they should quit. No, no. If all those people they will live their own life, retire, and the loop keeps going on. The loop it keeps it's still, the circle keeps going on and on. You understand? It's just like you be having your own children and be like, there's no. I know that Igbo people have that mindset. Be like, it's not school. Go and learn business, right? Or even in business, right? Maybe if you're an Igbo person, you have a business, and somebody is selling something similar to what you are selling. Would you say that you will not open your own business and you'll be like, this is not what you know you can sell best? I see a lot of people that sell similar things, and I used to ask myself that how do these people want to? Why do they have to set up their own place, almost selling similar things, right? And they do. There's many of them still make their money, right? But it's still there's still competition, and that is how it is in the tech space. So it doesn't mean that because of the competitive nature, it doesn't mean that you cannot put yourself out there. No. I just hope that answers the question. Hello, Joy, are you there? It's already two. It's already 2 p.m. Am I the only one on the call?
No, we're with you.
Not
No,
at all.
no,
We're here.
no,
We're
no,
here,
no,
by
sir.
the way.
You're not the only one.
Ah, I'm scared. But I
Yeah,
think Joy is still on this call. Let me see. She's no longer here. But was I able to answer your question, Mr. Samino?
Yeah, yes, 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 sir. In fact, it's an encouragement also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what I've been observing lately is that if you go this advert on YouTube, you'll get to understand that they secure their first job after 6 months of learning. So in Nigeria, I feel it's not possible, but some people are saying it's possible. But as you said, it's a journey. But once you present yourself to be a job ready and market ready, then definitely it will pay you someday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. It's also good to note that there's grow at your pace, right? Why I'm also saying this is because psychologically I know how challenging it is, right? I've had to encourage people, and the encouragement paid off, right? And I'm like, comparing yourself with some other people can also hurt your journey, right? So grow at your pace. Um, don't let other people's progress discourage you. That is there something wrong with me? Is it village people that is doing me? No, right? Just as you keep doing. Let me use I for example, right? When I started out, um, as a CS grad, I had people that before they finished school, they had jobs in the UK, right? Companies like Bloomberg, Goldman Sachs, all those things. I started working with startups that possibly were not even paying that well, right? And if I was to maybe compare myself to my colleagues, right? That we all do did computer. Some of them say I'm quote unquote better than in programming, right? If I just compared myself and say, is there something doing me? This person has jackpot. He's now working for a big tech company in the UK and da 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 da. But I just stick to my own lane, grew up in my own pace, right? And before you knew it, I was securing opportunities in Nigeria with UK companies and US companies while in Nigeria. Why? Even almost any much more than they were doing. Now it doesn't mean that why did I share this story? It doesn't mean that comparing yourself with someone else, don't let it deflate your own personal growth. Like let it be like a source of encouragement. Just know something unique about yourself, right? Um and grow, right? The learning doesn't stop. I still learn. I'm still learning. I'm still looking at how I want to improve. Still like how I can still grow beyond I, because once you get there, once you maybe get to there is no finite place that will be okay. I'm now fulfilled and I'm like okay, this is the end of the journey because the truth about it is the tech space is evolving. And for example, the AI LLMs, knowing how to adopt AI technologies. I'm not saying that for beginners. If you want to learn about AI engineering and you feel like you can learn about it as a front end engineer, you can pick that up to knowing how to build AI applications that interact with LangChain LLMs or that interact with OpenAI, that interact with Anthropic, whichever one, right? It's also good. Kind of gives you. I feel like maybe there'll be another call I can share how you can how you can look for opportunities and how you can leverage on certain things that can give you a upper head once you are looking for job opportunities like that. Maybe that will be another day. And so I think that's possibly the all I have to say for now. But I think Joy is not on this call again. I don't know why she left. So I
I'm
think
on
I'll
the call.
release.
That was my network.
Okay, okay. Oh, sorry. So I think we've passed our
Yes,
time.
sir.
I don't know if there are more questions to be asked. Let me just I might just do the review as a screen recording.
All right. Okay, no problem. That works as
Don't be
well.
scared.
So
I'll
please,
save it.
if anyone has
I'll do the
question,
screen. I'll do the review.
okay, I believe you. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Please, does anyone have like any question? I know I don't want to murder. Okay, Saminu, I will just call that one because it's easier to pronounce. I know you already asked the question and that was answered. So please, does anyone have a question? I know we've learned a whole lot um from today's session, from understanding how that it's good to have like a good grasp on fundamentals, right? You shouldn't just jump off to learning other things without having a good grasp of the fundamental skills, right? And you mentioned how that JavaScript like the fundamental thing that you should learn even as a front end developer, right? You also talked about focusing on learning one at a time. You know, you made mention of how some people feel like, okay, I'm not more interested in front end, okay, let me go to cloud, or data science is the in thing. So AI is the in thing now. Let me just go to AI. You mentioned how that jumping from, you know, in my words, pillar to post, right, can also affect you when you're now looking for jobs. That you're an intern in this particular field, intern in another field, right? Oh, sorry, okay. I think I'll read that question. Look, I don't know if that's the question. You're an intern in another field, but you really do not. It can affect you when it comes when you come before employers, right? Yes, then one thing you also mentioned, having a good quality code. I know many of us were looking to have our code or work, our solo projects reviewed. Make sure I tell you, some type to send the recording, so we would have that. And we'll also have a session with another mentor next week. So we would also the code that Ayomitide did not review is going to review them, and it will try as much as possible to review them on the call as well, right? So yes, having a good quality code guy. I'm sure you would talk more about that when he sends in his recording. I hope I'm very audible and my voice is not breaking because of network. All right. So yes, thank you very much, Irene, today. Thank you very much. So it's really a beautiful session. So I'm trying to read the comments in the chat. JK is saying, thank you for the session, Irene, today. I learned a lot about planning my studies and how to go about pursuing a developer career. So JK is just really telling you, thank you very much. And then Ibrahim is saying, thank you very much, sir. After our program, what would you suggest we do to stay updated in the industry? I'm asking this because we won't have tasks to submit anymore or solo projects to do. Now the tasks and solo projects, they're like a thing that they have to do on standby, right? We might become nonchalant and eventually stop coding. So Ibrahim Muhammad is asking what should they do? Yes,
Okay,
sir, I think
I think
you
it's a
are able
very
to answer that.
I think it's a valid question. It's a valid concern. Um, that after you're done, you won't be having much to do. In terms of task and projects. Things I can advise to do if you feel like you're not yet ready to maybe search for opportunities or you are not confident yet to be able to okay, I want to start uh looking for opportunities that my um my level. Uh you can look out, pair with your friends, right? Pair with some of your friends. You can look out for companies that maybe I have friends that I'm not saying maybe you can have senior friends that are possibly building a startup and uh they know what they are doing. Emphasis on they know what they are doing so that you won't put effort into something that it won't fly. Right. So and you'll be like, okay, maybe they need a front end engineer to in the team and this is volunteering, quote unquote, right? And that's the clause of if you feel like you you are not ready yet to start applying. Because even while you're applying, right, because you have to wait for responses and all of those things, you still look out for project that GitHub is an open source community. Read people's code, right? See something interesting that you feel like you can challenge yourself. You can look for you can ask a designer what are the things that you've designed that you feel like you want to build, right? And show out, showcase. In that, there are 20 things you could do. You can do that. You can volunteer for a startup. Why I've been saying a startup is that maybe the MVP pre-revenue because they've not started, they've not launched any product yet. Most of the time, they don't have money to pay developers, right? So sometimes some of them might offer equity if possible, but and that's a thing that's I mean you hit the fruit of the labor in years, right? Once if a company grows and succeeds, right? Uh, you can also um peer with people that you feel like, oh, this designer, you did this, you designed this innovative thing, and I feel like I want to share it. I want to develop this and also share it. I think I should make emphasis on sharing because I think I was listening to Stephen Ballard. I don't know him. He's a UK entrepreneur, and he does a podcast with some people. Called Diary of a CEO, and he interviewed someone that in today's world things have changed, right? Personal branding thing is a thing, right? While I can say that some people might not be able to do it because of personalities, if you can do it, right? If you can be vocal or you can be visible on on social media platforms, and you want to sell yourself, is something that can also be like a something that can bring opportunities for you. And uh so that those are options you can consider. There's also platforms where you 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 they do projects, like hackathon, something like that, but that maybe a group of people get together to build something for a particular period, and they offer them a grand prize, right? Those are not those they are, I'll possibly share the site later. And but I feel like that's for experienced people. It might be that solid at that point, right? So you can pair with some other people and build something. So those are options I can see, right? Somebody else raised his or her hand up. Not sure who that person is. Victor. Okay, you can talk.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for the session. So I dropped my question in the chat box already, but I'm not going to read it out. So while you were speaking just now, you mentioned not being confident or not being ready enough to sort for opportunities. Now the question is there a way one can know if he or she is ready enough to sort for opportunities? At what point? Or are there technologies I must have mastered to be sure that, okay, I am at this point now, I am ready to start applying to jobs and stuff? So I'd like you to shed more light on that.
Okay. That's a very solid question. So I think I've answered it in previous times. We've been on different cohorts. So is there a way to know if he or she is ready enough to sort out opportunities? There's something called imposter syndrome. I don't know. Some of you must have heard of it, and some of you maybe have it and don't know what it is in terms of the language or the term. Now, imposter syndrome is a feeling of lack of sufficiency, that you feel like you're not qualified to do something, or you're not good enough for something, right? Um, it happens to everybody in all levels, really. Uh, I would explain why. Because uh, once you are starting out something new, or you are even transitioning into something, or you are beginning some, if, for example, you can switch a role. Maybe you got a new job, you started another role, and it's a different domain, different things. You have to pick up things really quickly. Low-key, imposter syndrome can be setting and be like, ha, I have a lot to cover. I don't know this. I need to learn this. That's why learning is one of the qualities you must have as an engineer, right? You must know how to quickly adapt to learning something quickly, right? Because you never stop learning, whether you're a senior or not, right? It has nothing to do with level. So, is there a point where I would say that while I feel like some people feel like they need to learn everything. For example, um, maybe you have a book, or a an ebook, or a hard copy book, and the ebook is about React or JavaScript by O'Reilly, all those very voluminous books, and be like, until I finish this, right? That's when I know. What I'm just saying is, there's certain level of foundation basics, that yardstick you need to use to measure yourself. Have I mastered the foundations well on front end development? Can somebody give me a front end interface now, and maybe endpoints, back end endpoints, server side endpoints to integrate? Can I build it without any assistance, right? Can I build it myself to specification, right? At that point, right? So aside what you have already learned, you already been implementing, putting use of what you've learned and you are confident that you can be able to make something, you are confident you can be able to develop something for a client, or meet a deliverable, then you are that ready. The 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 fear people have is the fact that they think you need to be a master in terms of memorizing things. Maybe for example, when you start learning HTML and CSS, do you feel like you need to know all the HTML tags before you can build a website? No. That is why the documentation is there. That is why Google is there. There is no company. It's not like all these sci-fi movies where you see them, they are coding from their head and they are typing 1,000 words without looking at anything. It's not true. It's not true. It's a lie. So the thing is, the concept of being a developer is doing it to break things down into okay, this is what's like. Let me just streamline front end. Somebody gives you an interface to design. You already know, oh, this is a relative layout. If you're using normal CSS, this is a cover page. This is where this is a nav bar. You can be able to pieces them together, or is a web application. This is what I'll use for this. This is the logic. This is how I arrange this. So the concept of being an engineer is being able to interpret the design into solution, right? However, you come up with that solution, if it means copying code from Google, from Stack Overflow, yes, it's fine. Why I'm saying this is because I want to say psychologically, you cannot reserve all information in your head. Like now, if you give me a task to center a div, I've not centered a div in maybe I don't know how many years. If I cannot remember how to center a div, what will I do? I'll go back. I'll go and check how do I center a div in a container. And if you get that's it. Nobody really cares because this is you moving from being a developer to being an engineer. When you begin to think about being an engineer, you are thinking a product that is solving a problem. How you engineer that product is left for you. So if you put up resources together, you copy code from online, you have to debug using ChatGPT to evaluate what your issues were. It's fine, right? You don't need to. You didn't. You need to discard the mind that being a developer, you need to know everything from head to toe, and you be like, okay, I can code it. No, it's not. It's not true. It's not true. It's you knowing how to. Okay, this thing I need to do. I need to create a function here to be able to pass this parameter. I need to do this to be able to pass this. I need to plug this and play this. That's the way it is being an engineer. It's not. Don't let people bamboozle you. Even being a senior, right? That's the truth. Being a senior, right? You even begin to leave writing code that much. Where I'm a CTO, I don't write code that much except if I want to, right? I only tell people I already know what the bits and pieces, what are the things they need to implement, and I outline them. Let us do this thing like this. Then you begin to even prefer solution on how to evaluate the problem, how to solve a problem than hands-on, right? So it's not so whatever you've learned, you feel like you can do this by yourself, is you are good to go. So it's also good to know that you also need to like check. One thing I always did was prior to before knowing I was job ready, I was always checking job requirements. These people are always asking for this particular technology, Redux, 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 Redux. I was not like, okay. When I learned React, I didn't know Redux. So I was like, okay, what is this Redux? I had to go search Redux and learn Redux. So you have to do a research on, okay, what are the things that people are looking out for now? When Tailwind CSS became a thing, right? I needed, okay, what is Tailwind? Let me go and check it out. I need to start learning Tailwind, right? So you have to be ensure that you're in pace of what the industry, right? So LinkedIn can do that. You can always go to Indeed, all those places, check out all the things that are commonly asked, commonly things that usually reflect in job descriptions that you can be able to eventually um, make sure that you're ready for, right? So that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep. I think there's one more question.
Um, yeah, there's no more questions. So what did the chat box said? You are feeling life. And I thought the way Amit was just really giving the thumbs up reaction. I think yes, yes, Queen. I'll share his LinkedIn with everybody on the group page, on the WhatsApp group, so that you can all connect with him. Right? So yes, I think Amit has just been plagued with the fact that he has to cram a whole lot of code and all of that, because his reaction was just really a whole lot. All right, so I think we do not have any more questions. And yes, Samantha Shade, the Kenyan lady with the Yoruba name. Yeah, the recording will be made available so that everybody would be able to have access to it. So I think this is the place where we say a very, very big thank you to Mr. Ayomi today. I mean, he has really, really helped us, right? He has really, really brought insight and clarity to some of the things to some of the foggy things and some of the misconceptions we have about front end development or we have about being in the tech space as a whole. So yes, let's give him his flowers. Let's tell him thank you. So thank you very much, Tayomi, today. It was really a very beautiful session with you, and we hope to see more of you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you everybody for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. All right, everyone. So yeah, we'll be having another session next week. Yes, that would be with another mentor, right? So I Omitile was not able to review some of our codes, some like that's our solo hometown project, but he's going to send a recording for that. And while we will not be able to review everybody's project, we also had to give another of our mentors. His name is Elvis Mariga. I'll be sharing with you the flyer and LinkedIn as well, so you can connect with him, right? So he would even be able to give you guys feedback because he's also a UI UX designer. So right, to be able to give feedbacks on the interface and how you guys have designed it and all of that. So yes, so that session is coming up February 13th. It would have been February 14th, but I mean, I don't know, February 14th is Valentine's. I would not want to hinder some people's arrangements or plans with the mentoring session. Samantha is laughing. I had this discussion with guys in the AI engineering track. They're supposed to have a session next week, but many of them do not want to. Some of them do not want to have a session on Valentine's Day. So yes, I do want to do the same with two people also. So that's why the session is on Thursday. That's next week Thursday. But all is well and good. It's in the evening. That's by 4 to 6. So that's close of work hour. So you can just connect and then get feedbacks on your review, get feedbacks on your project. So thank you all so much for joining. It was really awesome. I know some people already dropped off, but it was really nice having you guys around. I thank you guys for coming in. I can imagine if it was just one person that joined, it would not have been really nice, right? I mean, and everybody's now waiting for the recording. It would not be nice. It was people. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining. Do enjoy the rest of it. Do enjoy your weekend, right? Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you guys on see you guys on the group. I see you on Thursday. Um, yeah, so if we just believe one by one, because my network will not allow me end this call. Yeah, bye guys.